Good evening. Welcome to round number 7 of Season 5 of the Formula PlayStation League, which brings us 931 kilometers north of the nearest American venue of Mexico City to Austin, Texas, and the 5.5 kilometer circuit of the Americas. Well, he failed to win for the first time in 4 races last time in Hungary, but can Nuth strike gold in the States and extend his 56-point championship lead? Or perhaps will we see a 4th winner in what has been a very enticing 5th season in FPSL? We're about to find out over the course of the next short qualifying session and 50% Grand Prix. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Rob Kershaw. I'll be taking you through round 7 tonight as we begin to get to the business end of the championship and close out what has been a season full of exciting racing, but dominated by just one driver in Vapor Nuth, who has been nothing short of exceptional so far. Can anyone knock him off his perch here in round 7 as we head in towards these final 4 rounds? There's Reese in the Ferrari, medium tyres on for him in qualifying. Of course, in a short qualifying session, you start on the exact same tyres that you qualify on, as opposed to a normal qualifying where you would use your qualifying 2 tyres, which just adds that little extra difficulty and a strategical choice to make in terms of having already worn tyres at the start of the Grand Prix. Potentially you've done more than a couple of runs on them, and also, of course, you sacrifice a little bit of qualifying time, just a few tenths here and there with the less grippy, less sticky tyre. Is it a risk that, for example, the likes of Nuth will want to take? It's not something we'll see the lower drivers in the championship particularly wanting to do. Reese is not one of those you wouldn't suggest. Although, just the 2 that we've had, he's always had some sort of bad luck here and there, but he's qualified well. He's out-qualified his teammate Bazooka Joe all 6 times in the opening rounds of the FPSL. But in one way or another, it's always just seemed to go a little bit wrong over the course of the race, as he becomes the first one to traverse the first sector through the very difficult, twisty lefts and rights, and then in towards the heavy braking zone of turn 11, which leads him to the second of the 2 DRS straights here. First one, of course, down the home straight, as he opens up the flap on the rear wing and heads down towards turn 12. Gets the car stopped. Of course, first run isn't where we're going to see the most competitive and fastest times. The track will rubber in naturally, and it'll get quicker towards the end of the session. Of course, in the dry conditions, or dry-in conditions, it's better to just get out there as late as you possibly can and try and set a late qualifying time, which normally would contain an element of risk in terms of other drivers going off track and causing a yellow flag. Not in the F1 games, you can just finish your lap anyway. Reese across the line, 132, I should say, 0.1 to open his account. Brown with a 134.1, 2 seconds slower than the Ferrari. There is Trixky in the McLaren. We've just seen our championship leader Vapor Nuth on a lap. Trixky, same with Reese, really just struggling a little bit for a bit of luck and a bit of fortune in the race itself. Again, only the 1 points finish, as Nuth has his lap invalidated for exceeding track limits. He'll have to cross the start finish line and go again, as Trixky goes round 17, 18 and 19. The really tricky flat out rights. And to the final corner goes Trixky, 3 times on the board. Snooksters P1 with a 130.9. It's also a 130.9 from Trixky, just a few hundredths of a second slower than the Racing Point out front at the moment. Racing Point, who claimed their 7th podium in the last Formula 1 Grand Prix in Italy. An exceptional result for Lance Stroll. It was the first podium that team have collected since they became the Racing Point team, having changed name from Force India a couple of years ago. Of course, they'll become Aston Martin next year, with Sebastian Vettel joining that project, which will be very exciting indeed. Here then is Fashion in the Alfa Romeo. 1 podium to his name thus far in the Formula PlayStation League. Can he add to that tally over the course of this United States Grand Prix? In towards the final sector. Just come out of one of the trickiest traction zones on the exit of turn 16, through the double apexed left-hander, round the final corner, uses the exit curve, controls the wheel spin, goes 4th fastest with a 131.2. Nuth has gone 3rd with a 131.2 as well, so it's very, very close between top 4 at the moment. There is Trench in the Mercedes, just coming up to the final corner now. And what sort of a lap will this be? From him, it's 2nd fastest, 130.9. So this is super competitive out front at the moment between a multitude of drivers. Vapor Shea has just started a lap in a Williams, started on pole a couple of races ago in France. Has 2 podiums to his name at the start of the Formula PlayStation League's Season 5. Just through the first sector, down now towards turn 11. Clips the apex and now gets onto the exit towards the DRS line, and the rear wing opens as he hurtles now down towards turn 12. Reaching average speeds of just over 200 kilometers per hour as you head down towards the downhill braking zone into the left-hander of turn 12, which is so easy to get wrong. Understeer becomes oversteer pretty quickly as he heads into this triple right-hander, and that's not going to help. He's got an Alfa Romeo right in front of him. Fashion, actually in the end, I think that was that Vapor King or Fashion? I believe it was Fashion, just getting out of his way as he got into the final sector, so no harm done. And across the line now for Shea, and it's P2, 130.9 from him as well. So a lot of 139s flying in at the moment from our drivers. There is Vapor King just coming into the last sector, so it was indeed Fashion getting out of Shea's way just on the last lap. As you can see by the timing screens, though, didn't really affect Shea all that much. And round towards these final couple of corners then comes the Alfa Romeo. Scored their first point in Mugello in Italy last time out. It's a good exit as well of the final corner from Vapor King, and he goes fastest, 129.9. That's a brilliant lap, a whole 2nd faster than Snookster. So we thought the 130.9 was the ultimate benchmark really, but Vapor King has just absolutely crushed that and got a whole 2nd faster. Whether that's track evolution or just a brilliant lap from the Alfa Romeo driver, I'm not too sure, but a spectacular effort there, and that is provisional pole for him. Here's James. Only raced 3 times this season and has one points finish, but goes fastest, 129.8 now from him, so the lap times all of a sudden are plummeting. Here comes TDB, interestingly on the medium tyres in the Mercedes. He's followed Vapor Nuth in choosing that strategy for the race. He takes that wide swinging line into turn 16. And now in towards the final couple of corners for the Mercedes driver, who has made a brilliant start to Season 5 since he's come into the championship. 4 races, he's already taken a win. and 3 podiums as well. Although 1 non-finish in that time. 131.6 to go P9, but it looks as though we sort of backed out of his lap towards the end. We're just waiting for the Haas of Allsoppy to settle up, and he is still in the pits in the AlphaTauri. Some more drivers heading out on to the circuit. There's Trixie in the McLaren, currently P6, just in front of our championship leader, Vapor Nuth. Whose Red Bull team are going to take a little bit of a hit, you would think, in this race because of the absence of Buttons back. Well, certainly in qualifying, at the very least. He did join the session a little earlier, but he's not being shown on the timing screens at the moment. But the Red Bull team lead the championship by 11 points, which I think just shows Nuth's pure dominance, really. He's got a 56-point lead, but Red Bull team have an 11-point advantage at the top. Trixie then round the final corner for McLaren, goes very wide on the exit of the final corner, and it's a 130.7. So an improvement in terms of lap time, but not in terms of position. Reese has gone back out on track in the Ferrari. He was the first driver to set a lap time, and he's now gone all the way down to P12. He's put on a set of the soft compound tyre, so he's veered away from the mediums and in towards the final corner. It's a really good run, that, out of the penultimate turn. Clips the apex and opens up the DRS rear wing and goes fourth. 130.5 for him. A couple of tenths ahead of Trixie, as Reese looks to make it 7 out of 7 in terms of out-qualifying his teammate Pazoka Joe, who has now incidentally been forced down to P12, where Reese was just before he put in that lap time. Here's Nuth then. Currently P8, crosses the line, goes P3, 129.9. Just 1/10 away from the pace setter James in the Haas out front, with James's teammate Brown quite a way off the pace down in P13. Allsoppy has begun a lap now in the AlphaTauri. 1 finish in the top 10 in the 5 Grand Prix that he's contested in Season 5. He'll want to improve on that record. Can he do so here when he's going to be the last driver to set a lap in this short qualifying session with just under 5 minutes to go of it? It's a very good run through what is a challenging first sector, in amongst what is quite a powerful circuit as well. So it's difficult to find that balance setup wise as well for the drivers in terms of whether to put more downforce on or just lower the ride height a little bit. Would have been an interesting choice to make ahead of the session, as well, of course, as the choice of tyre compounds. But as you can see, most of the drivers have opted for the soft compound tyre. Only TDB is the one driver left who has set a lap on the mediums for Mercedes. Looking to out-qualify his teammate Trench for the 4th time in Season 5. Allsoppy runs ever so slightly wide in the AlphaTauri, which will just cost him a little bit of time. AlphaTauri, of course, now 2-time Formula 1 winners with Pierre Gasly in Monza, as he slightly misses the apex of the penultimate corner, gets it turned in for the final turn, and now across the line for Allsoppy, and it is the 14th and slowest lap time of the drivers so far. I think he knows, though, that there is quite a bit of room for improvement. As there was just a couple of instances of running wide, ever so slightly, through a couple of corners, particularly in the final sector. So I think he'll be aware that he can definitely make some gains lap time wise. Pazoka Joe's got up to P9 with a 131.2. He just manages to squeeze that Ferrari for now into the top 10, but we're still waiting for the likes of Fashion and TDB to come back out on track. Vapor King, the pole sitter last time out. Can he do so again? Well, he's on the front row. And the front row clearly is quite a good place to start the Grand Prix. It normally is anyway, but particularly here. In all the races we've had in the USA since 2012, there have been no wins from outside that front row. So third place downwards isn't really an ideal starting spot for anybody. As James is headed out in the Haas for an outlap. And 4 of the 8 races have been won from pole position. One of the wins from second was the very first one actually here from Lewis Hamilton in 2012. Beating Sebastian Vettel to the win that day. Of course, a year later, Vettel would win in 2013 in what was a record-breaking season for the 4-time world champion. James then, currently on pole. Can he extend his advantage at the top? Or will King or Nuth head out there and trump his lap time? Oh, James has had his lap invalidated and he's got into the wall as well. And that has ended his pursuit of a better lap time and certainly ended his session. And so now he's going to be powerless to stop anybody else in pole position from him. One of those drivers aiming to do so will be this man, Snookster, in the Racing Point. A solid 4 top 10 finishes from the 4 races he's been in season 5. Still looking for that first win, still looking for that first podium. Will it be a pole position for the Racing Point driver? Well, we're about to find out over the course of the next half lap that he's got left to complete as he brings that pink car into turn 12. Clips the apex. And as far as I can see, not lighting up the timing screens just at the moment. As he swings the car now into turn 16. Quite a bit of traffic in his way as he comes around these flat-out right-handers in towards the latter part of the lap. Round the penultimate corner. Oh, loses the back end and smashes into the wall. Just took too much through the penultimate corner and it cost him massively. And that is his qualifying run over as well. He'd be so frustrated. He was so close to finishing the lap. And that could now leave Nuth with a clear path to pole position. The checkered flag has fallen on this short qualifying. Is it going to be a 5th pole position of the season for Nuth? Or will James just about hold on in the Haas for his first pole of season 5? Nuth, purple first sector. As he brings it through turn 9 in towards flat out 10. Running down the hill towards 11. Gets the car stopped. Slight lock-up. Doesn't really affect him too much. Pretty good exit. And now crosses the DRS line. Opens up the rear wing. And if there was a camera there, it would have been taken out by the Red Bull. Down towards turn 12. Using all the track, all the space he possibly can. Vapor King has crossed the line. Isn't able to go any quicker than James out front. Nuth with another lock-up and another one. Through turns 12 and 13. Into 14 and now 15 and 16. Another lock-up on that left front. These other tyres he's going to start the race on, of course. So needs to be careful. Watch those watch that locking on the left front. Now in towards the final 2 corners. Is this the pole position run for Nuth as he rounds the final corner in the Red Bull? And is this going to be P1? Yes, it is. 127 takes pole position, number 5 of season 5 in the Formula PlayStation League. A brilliant lap from Nuth, a dramatic end to the qualifying session, but championship leader who will lead the pack away. United States Grand Prix. Nuth then on pole from James in the Haas, who after his crash wasn't able to improve on his lap time and has to settle for 2nd place. It's King in 3rd in the Alfa Romeo. Snookster 4th for Racing Point. Reese in 5th for Ferrari. Trench takes 6th for Mercedes. Trixky 7th. Bazooka Joe 8th. Brown 9th. Shea rounds out the top 10. TDB, surprisingly, on those medium tyres, down in 13th place. And is out-qualified by his teammate Trench for the 4th time in the Formula PlayStation League this season. So he's got quite a bit of work to do from 13th place, although he is starting on the medium compound tyre, which will give him a strategical advantage, particularly at a track where tyre wear is slightly more affected than it ordinarily would be at most other circuits on the Formula 1 calendar. This track was conceived in 2010. Some clever people found a little bit of space in some farmland in Travis County, Texas, and decided, you know what, that would be the perfect place for a racetrack. So they built one, although this race actually very nearly didn't happen at the end of 2011. There were several payment installments to Formula 1 management that were scheduled to be paid by the race organisers, but they weren't really happening. Bernie Eccleston, the then Formula 1 chief, gave them a bit of an ultimatum, said you're either going to pay or your race isn't going to be on the calendar. Thankfully that was all sorted in early 2012, and the first US Grand Prix at this track was contested later on that year, with, as I mentioned earlier, Lewis Hamilton winning the Grand Prix for McLaren. Winning this Grand Prix for Red Bull potentially could be new, starting from pole. He's already taken an incredible six wins in the Formula PlayStation League. And will it be, 5 wins? Will it be a 6th one to date here in the United States? As we've seen a few times, the leader kind of running away from the rest of the pack, and the rest of them rather backing off and trying to conserve their tyres. Buttons Back has joined us now, but he is in the Renault at the back. Would ordinarily be in the Red Bull, so not too sure what's happened there for Buttons Back. As we head round on this formation lap. There's actually a fair bit of motorcycling input as well in this circuit. Of course, Herman Tilke was the main designer, but Kevin Schwantz, a Texan motorcycle world champion, was also pretty integral in the design of the track. The first sector with the twisty rights and lefts is designed after the Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel section in Silverstone. And the undulation, of course, makes for a very tricky, challenging race circuit with quite a few blind corners as well, particularly the penultimate turn. Nuth then would be looking to make it 5 wins from pole position here at this circuit. Red Bull, one of the 4 winning constructors, along with Ferrari, Mercedes and McLaren, over the course of the 8 races contested here at the circuit of the Americas. Just about ready to go then for the start of the Fly Emirates United States Grand Prix and round number 7 of season 5, as we just wait for the lights to come on. Nuth still on the grid. I believe we're just waiting for Buttons Back to come round, and then we can get going. A 154-kilometre race distance ahead of us in the States. Mercedes taking 5 wins here. Of course, all of them since the dawn of the hybrid era. And Lewis Hamilton, the most successful at this circuit with 5 victories, although doesn't have the lap record in terms of race pace. That was Charles Leclerc